Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the service of Unity on the Eastern Shore. We're so happy to have each of you here today. And I don't know about where you live, but it certainly looks like springtime here. Can everybody hear me? Okay, Shirley, can you hear? Well, we seem to be losing people on video and then on audio, but anyway, bear with me a minute. Okay, I was saying it looks like springtime where I am. I hope it does where you are also. I was hoping that Sharon St. Clair would be with us this morning from Canada so that we could gloat a little bit and tell her that we have springtime in Fairhope. In any case, welcome to each and every one of you. I know we have at least one newcomer on Zoom. Elizabeth Wood is visiting us from Mobile, Unity. Hi, Elizabeth, again. And if we have any newcomers in the sanctuary, I hope somebody there will let us know. I don't see any signs, so I'm going to take that as a no. Our color and our power for this month are green. If you're in the sanctuary, you can see it on the podium. There's a banner and a beautiful shade of green with the word strength. And that's just to remind us all that anytime we see green in the coming week and month, the rest of this month, try to remember that spiritual power of strength. Our affirmation is as follows. Peace, like a river, flows through my mind and heart. I uphold the power of peace in all people. And the daily word for today is inner peace. In practicing the silence, I experience inner peace in my daily life. Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore lauded time in the silence as follows. The highest form of prayer we know is quietly entering the inner chamber within the soul, shutting the door to the external thought of daily life and seeking conscious union with God. The silence is the stillness I find within my own consciousness. The more I practice turning my attention inward and resting in silence, the more inner peace I feel throughout the day. Today, I give myself a gift of peace. A few moments in the silence brings peace to my mind and heart and helps me maintain peaceful relationships. I renew my vow to invest time each day in the silence, which naturally gives rise to an abundance of inner peace. And now we're going to enjoy some music. Share a dream of peace.
My skin may be a different shade, my language not the same. I pray in different places, I call God by different names. My clothing may not precious present, and our presence holds the key to a world that is more loving as we share the dream of peace, as we share the dream of peace. My arms embrace my children. I fall in love, I cry. I marvel at the sunset as another day goes by. But halfway round the world I know your rain brings rainbows too. Though we might seem so different, I am just the same as you. We have the precious present, and our presence holds the key to a world that is more loving as we share the dream of peace, as we share the dream of peace. Imagining the future, remembering the past. Together we can co-create a vision that will last. We have the precious present, and our presence holds the key to a world that is more loving as we share the dream of peace, as we share the dream of peace.
That was a beautiful selection. Thank you for whoever chose that music. Now it's my special privilege to introduce our speaker for this morning. She is a member of Unity on the Eastern Shore, and she is one of our dearest long-term members. Her name is Sylvia Norton, and when she spoke to our group about 6 weeks ago or so, she spoke a very practical talk called Something to Look Forward to. If you didn't get a chance to hear that, I encourage you to go on our site and look it up. It was very useful, and I thank you for that, Sylvia. This morning, she's going to speak to us on a topic she's calling Roll Away Your Stone. Sylvia.
Thank you. It's nice to see live people. It's hard to talk just to a camera, so I'm glad not everybody chose Zoom. I'm going to start. Some years ago when I first joined Unity, I read Keep a True Lent, Charles Fillmore. And I was going to do a lot more of my talk about things he discusses in the book. But then life took me a different direction. I was thinking about Lent and rolling away your stone, which was it. And I just looked up the lyrics to the song. I'll talk about that later. I go out to my car to go to the store, and what song is playing on the radio but Roll Away Your Stone? I thought, okay, I understand. From the book, Charles Fillmore, though, Lent is a season of spiritual growth, a time for progressive unfoldment. When we can blend and merge our mind with God mind, the way is open for the Lord to glorify us and lift us into a higher, more pure, more spiritual state. So this morning, first, because of the tensions in the world and things that are going on, I wanted to read something from this introduction. The introduction to the book was by Georgiana Tree West. And she said, one of the most valuable ways of observing the Lenten season is to fast from, to lose and let go the belief that men or nations can stand in the way of God's good will for man. Now is the time to affirm the power of the Christ Spirit indwelling in all men everywhere and influencing their thoughts, words, and actions to work for the good of the whole. We all want to be of some influence in establishing world peace. That song was perfect for that. To do so, we must learn to obey Paul's exhortation. Let us therefore follow after the things which make for peace. Each one of us must be concerned with improving his own life. We must learn to deny our selfish impulses and be obedient to impulses of brotherly love. When we withdraw our attention, interest, and support from the false and the unworthy, that is true fasting. When we give that same attention, interest, and support to the enduring good, we are feasting on the things of the Spirit, and this is true prayer. When we have truly fasted in the Christ way, we will have increased our ability to respond to God's good will. So I want to take just a moment, please, to connect with Spirit. As we join together this morning, in person, on Zoom, and with the prayers of the world, help us see your light. Help us understand your will. Help us continue in the path of peace and love. Thank you. Amen. I always like to pull something from the Bible. We are Bible-based. Unity is Bible-based. This is from the Gospel of Mark. And when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome had brought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him. They came to the sepulcher for that. And very early in the morning, the first day of the week, they came into the sepulcher at the rising of the sun. And they said among themselves, "Who shall roll away the stone from the door of the sepulcher?" And when they looked, they saw that the stone was rolled away, for it was very great. So let's look at the stones, the huge stone we all have in front of our sepulcher. We have all kind of buried ourselves. I love music. I'm influenced a lot by music. I have no talent, but I'm a great listener. You might remember these words, and I think it's legal for me to just quote a few lines without breaking anything. Pink Floyd, The Wall. Remember that song? And in this, they use the word mother, and mother to me is symbolic of all the influences in our life. Mother, do you think they'll drop the bomb? Mother, do you think they'll like this song? Hush now, baby, don't you cry. Mother's going to make all your nightmares come true. Mother's going to put all her fears into you. Mama will keep baby cozy and warm. Of course, Mama will help to build the wall. And then, Mother, did it need to be so high? All in all, it's just another brick in the wall. We start our lives, sweet, innocent little babies, and then things happen. We get hurt, there's sadness, there's disappointment, and Mother puts all of her fears into us. The world starts to teach us fear. And little by little, we get this brick. I don't want this person to hurt my feelings. I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want bad things to happen. I don't want to lose people. So little by little, we start building brick by brick, building our own tomb. And this tomb keeps us from the light of God. We start to hide from the things we fear. And instead of learning to overcome these fears in an appropriate way, we block them out. And it could be something that starts off very innocently. Like they say, most comedians, very successful comedians, have a dark side. And they use humor to hide from the things that they fear, things they have a problem with. Now that starts off good. That can be a good thing, to be able to laugh at problems. But then, if humor takes a dark side and you start ridiculing, thinking, I'm better than that. I'm going to make fun of this other person, then I'm better. It's another brick. There's addictions. People who you might be addicted to alcohol, tobacco, drugs. All of those things are to block out fears. I have a friend whose father was an alcoholic, and this friend is also an alcoholic. And he said his father had quit drinking when he was fairly young, but he never learned any other way to deal with things except through alcohol. So he went through his life being angry, driving people away, failed marriages, everything, because alcohol was the only solution he had learned. So our tomb can be from many things. I have that. I remember every joke I've ever heard. I know a joke for every occasion. But I have to, a friend of mine once warned me that all these little voices in my head, all the little demons that are funny, I have to be careful to keep them down, because they're very amusing. They're very amusing, but they can also be very hurtful. And I can say and think things that separate me from other people, that separate me from the real love, compassion, and understanding that I should have. Trying to step out of that place, to roll away your stone. I have 7 grandchildren. And a couple years ago, one of my grandchildren decided, I have to say this first. Okay, I was an English teacher. It's very hard for me to use he and she and they as singular pronouns. But my grandchild has decided that they do not want to be classified as male or female. They just want to be who they are and not to be put into those boxes. And this child, who was 14 at the time, had the courage to come out and explain to people and people around how they felt about it. And my dear son, I was so impressed by him, said that our only job is to support him, her, it, them. It's very confusing. But I'm so pleased that even at this young age, this person had courage and rolled away their stone and came out into the light and said, this is who I am. Don't classify me. one of my jokes, okay, one of my 1,000 jokes. There was a zebra, and this zebra spent its whole life trying to find out if it was black with white stripes or white with black stripes. And from its very early days, it went around, of course, zebras can talk, went around to its parents and said, am I black with white stripes or white with black stripes? And I'm like, we don't know. That's a stupid question, don't ask. And as it got older and met other animals, it would always ask, am I white with black stripes or black with white stripes or whatever? And finally, the zebra spent its whole life worried about this, concerned about this. It was obsessed. And finally, the zebra dies and goes to heaven, where St. Peter welcomes zebras and said, am I white with black stripes or black with white stripes? However I said that. And St. Peter said, yes. And so my dear grandchild didn't want to be, are you a boy? Are you a girl? Yes. Please don't put me in that box and categorize me. Let me just be a human. I thought that was just wonderful. So now in our situation, it's Lent. This is the first Sunday of Lent, and Lent is supposed to be a time of fasting, and again, fast from error thinking, and reconnecting with the person that we're meant to be. It's almost like being in a cocoon. And we're gradually making those changes and thinking about it. So take this next, Lent is 40 days. The ancient Hebrew always thought 40 was a square number. 10, 10, 10, 10, and it's square. So this 40 days is our chance to go inside our tomb and look at the things that we might have built around ourselves that separate us from others. And of course, that separate us from God. God is always there. God is always there. We're the ones that block things out. So what can you do? I can't answer for any one of you except to use the tools that we have of talking to God, taking that time to talk to God. The song that I mentioned, Roll Away Your Stone, it's by Mumford and Sons. I don't know, it's a rock and roll song, okay? I listen to the Zoo. Anyway, Roll Away Your Stone is basically about the overcoming addiction, but our addictions are widespread. The first verse is, roll away your stone, I'll roll away mine, and together we can see what we will find. Don't leave me alone at this time, for I am afraid of what I will discover inside. And they're talking to a friend, but we can use that time to talk to Spirit and talk to God. And God's not going to leave you alone. So being afraid of what you'll discover inside, you're not alone. Next it says, see, you told me that I would find a hole within the fragile substance of my soul, and I have filled the void with things unreal, and all the while my character it steals. That's just what I'm saying, that we have filled this void of confidence, filled the void of lack of fear with things that are unreal. I have a really bad day, I'll go buy ice cream. You might go home and it's fine to go home and have a glass of wine. Great. If you're having that glass of wine because you can't cope with your emotions, then you're filling that void with things that are unreal. And then next verse, darkness is a harsh word, don't you think? And yet it dominates the things I seek. It seems that all my bridges have been burned, but you say that's exactly how this grace things work. It's not the long walk home that will change the heart, but the welcome I receive with the restart. Having that welcome of reconnecting with the good things, reconnecting with that constant love of God is what grace is. Eric Butterworth, many of you are familiar with him, wonderful, wonderful minister, unity person, author, wrote, grace is simply an explanation of a wonderful facet of the activity of God within you. It is not something to work for, to develop. It simply is. It is an assurance, an explanation of why things are never quite hopeless and why we never quite reap the full harvest of the error we sow, and why we'll always receive a little more good than we sow. God protects us. I was talking to one of my friends this morning, and I was saying, sometimes I receive these wonderful messages and guidance from God. And I go, I have another idea I'd like to try. I have a really good plan. I'm sure it's going to work. And because we have free will, God says, okay. But luckily, grace, as it says, we never quite reap the full harvest of the error we sow. Yes, that lifeline is always out there for us, which saves me. So now, let's say you are one of those people who have years ago rolled away your stone, and you're out there in the light every day. You have this constant connection with Spirit. And you don't need to roll away your stone. There are saints, I'm sure, and perfect people. So what do you do if you have your stone already rolled away? Be a light for others. Be that person that brings joy and shows love and peace and compassion. That, as I always say, be a mirror to reflect God's light into the dark spaces for other people. Maybe someone is still in their tomb. And some of the rest of us who are still kind of have a tomb going, we might not be quite ready to let go, to step out. Might have to do it a little bit at a time. There is a story about the British author Graham Greene. And Graham Greene led rather dissolute life. And he had many mistresses and was kind of known for hard living. But he was a Catholic, and he still had a spark of spirituality. And he wanted to meet Padre Pio, the Italian mystic. So Graham Greene flew to Italy from London, had to take a car way up into the mountains, and really watched Padre Pio say Mass. And afterwards, he had always begged to please talk to Padre Pio. And Padre Pio invited him to come speak with him after Mass. And Graham Greene left, took the car back down the mountain, and got in the plane and flew back to London. And people asked him, why did you do that? You wanted so many years to meet this man. Why? He said, because I was not ready to make the changes that I knew meeting him would force me to make. He really saw Padre Pio as a saint and did not see himself anywhere near that category and was not ready. He knew he felt in his heart, if I really and truly meet a saint, a true man of God, I'm going to need to change, and I'm not ready. Well, sometimes our fears hold us back, you know. Maybe that tomb we have built for ourselves, we're not quite ready to completely roll that stone away yet. But that's okay. That's okay. If you, little glimmers of light, spend this time of Lent, spend the rest of your life maybe finding that connection that's going to give you that power. You know, like when Mary and the others went to anoint Jesus, they were wondering who was going to roll away the stone because it was too heavy for them to roll away. And they got there and the stone had been rolled away. We don't have to roll our own stone away. We have God, grace, the help of others, the inspiration of others, the light of others to help roll that stone so we're not alone. So as I think about all of this, I spend a lot of time thinking about the different types of stones that we put up, and it's different for everyone. I don't know, for me, I guess it's my sense of humor which stands me in very good stead, and yet I remember one of my friends once, we were at this conference, and she said, if you don't have anything good to say about anybody, sit by me, you know. And it was funny. She's funny, and it was hilarious. And I thought about that later. I thought, I don't exactly want to be that person. You know, I have to stop myself a lot and say, is this the person I want to be? Oh, I have to go back and say, no, that's not what I want. And yet, you know, again, it can be something that's good. Just, it's, again, how we use it. And I want, luckily, with all the wonderful grace that I receive, I'm able to use it to keep my little guys under control most of the time. And by the way, speaking of all these little demons, I'm very allergic to sage and aloe. And I was told by the same friend that the reason I am allergic to them is because I want to hold on to my demons. That they're funny, you know? They're a real funny bunch. And maybe you want to hold on to, you know, enjoying that nice glass of wine on a cold evening, or that big bowl of chocolate ice cream. Whatever it is, it's okay to have those things as long as you're not using them to keep from facing what you need to face. So, and I have one more thing. Okay, let's say that you have been able to dismantle your tomb or not. Maybe you've decided this is a place you need to stay for a while yet. You're not quite ready to come out of that enclosure. But I have a big secret for you. God loves you anyway. All right. So one more thing from Charles Fillmore. If we would lose the bands of wickedness, and we must learn to fast from all unworthy thought and feast on the good and the true, to observe Lent according to the Spirit rather than the letter, we must fast from criticism and condemnation and feast in brotherly love. Fast from false beliefs in sickness and weakness, and feast on the truth of God's omnipresent, perfect life. Fast from false beliefs in lack and limitation, and feast on the truth of God's bountiful goodwill. Ideas such as these form an excellent basis for Lenten meditations and help establish permanent spiritual values in heart and mind. With that, we'll go into our meditation. You make yourselves comfortable. Take a few deep breaths. Releasing tension, worry, any fears and doubts. Breathe in the grace of God's goodness. I want you to spend a few moments sending peace and love to the earth, to all who live here, knowing that God's will for us is good. Knowing that whatever fears you have inside of you, you're not alone. You don't have to deal with things by yourself. There are angels present. To show you the way. To tell you that Jesus has risen just as we can open the stone, can roll away the stone and step out into the light. See yourself emerging. Not limited by any of your past fears. See your shining self radiating good to others, radiating God's love. Knowing that you are perfect, whole, and complete, and a beloved child of God. Keeping this feeling of peace, bring yourself slowly back to the room. Back to this beautiful day. The people surrounding you, the people on Zoom, and all the world that join with us today to pray for love and peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. I think that was a wonderful message, and I love the way you ended it, that we all need to keep forever peace and love in our hearts. Let's have a song now called Peace Expressing.
Stand together, let's make a new day, let's lift up each other and find a new way. Let's love one another and release all our fear and be peace, expressing in the world. Be the joy and the light of the Spirit, expressing in the world. Be love, expressing in the world. Be the hope in the heart of the Spirit, expressing in the world. Make a commitment, open your heart, don't stand there in judgment, and keep love apart. God lights the way now, our pathway is clear, loving each other eliminates fear, and be peace, expressing in the world. Be the joy and the light of the Spirit, expressing in the world. And be love, expressing in the world. Be the hope in the heart of the Spirit, expressing in the world. Be the hope in the heart of the Spirit, expressing in the world.
This is the time for making love offerings, and you have a couple of options. If you're in the church this morning, you may leave your love offering in the basket out in the hallway. If you are at home, you may use Venmo or PayPal, or you can use a good old-fashioned US check and send it via the postal service. So now let us pray our prayer of gratitude. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am richly blessed, creating a greater and greater flow. And now it's time for some announcements. We will have a special outdoor service next Sunday, March the 13th, down at the pier at the pavilion. And this will be Jack Fowler's first Sunday. So we'll be using this as an opportunity to give him a special welcome to the congregation. Susie and Pam, thank you so much for all your prayers, meals, etc., that you have provided to them during Susie's illness. Please continue to pray for them. And you can drop off a meal, call Pam, or just tell her you'd like to bring a surprise, and they will be most grateful. We have an upcoming opening on the board. The board positions run for 3 years duration. And in May, because Doreen Sorrells has served her full term and cannot serve another term until she takes some time off, her position will become available. So please consider prayerfully whether or not you might like to serve on the board. And finally, I'd like to announce that my sister Beth Mitchell is now making her home at Graceway Apartments. And I want to thank you for all of your prayers and all of your concerns that you've expressed over the months that she spent looking for that home. She's very happy there. And she would like to thank you, as would I. And now let's recite our affirmation for the week again. Peace flows like a river through my mind and heart. It upholds the power of peace in all people. And we'll close with the prayer for protection. If you know it, please feel free to say it with me. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. For wherever we are, God is. I thank you all for being with us today. We invite you to come back next Sunday to the pavilion and every Sunday, to either via Zoom or in the church proper. So thank you. And please feel free to stick around after the service closes so that you can say hello to each other.